Hi, everybody. Welcome to the X Podcast. It's so good to have you with us wherever you're listening from. The gang is back together today.
Hey, it's been a while.
It's been a little bit.
Where have you been?
I've been to Hawaii.
Is that where you've been?
And so
I thought you had a baby.
This
just
feels
kidding.
good. It's been
I'm
what,
not
a
the tan one at the table.
month and a half.
I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been fun. So wherever you're watching, listening from, we're so glad to have you with us today. And lots changing in the world, as always. We're going to have kind of a current events conversation and something that has been on at least our mind, and I'm sure on your mind in whatever capacity it's affected you. And that is the new normal. What is the new normal going to be? We're kind of hopefully turning the corner on COVID. Vaccinations are taking place, and society's changing rapidly. So, are you vaccinated, Russ? Is
Almost.
that personal? Is that HIPAA?
I don't know.
You're violating HIPAA. You do not have to answer on the grounds it could incriminate
No,
yourself.
you don't have to tell me why you did or didn't.
Yeah.
I've had my first, and I get my second this Friday.
Nice.
There you go.
So you got
Good for
Johnson
you.
and Johnson.
Pfizer all the way.
Yeah. You're getting
It's
two
like
doses
Russ
of
got
Johnson and
four
Johnson?
Johnson
What's
and
wrong with
Johnson.
you?
I saw somebody in Australia or somebody somewhere, I can't remember, they accidentally received medication, but it wasn't what they were supposed to get. They got 6 injections of the first.
Are you serious?
6
What happened
injections of
to
the
'em?
first. Oh, they're dead.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Grew a third ear in the middle of the forehead.
Nice.
This podcast is going to get flagged already.
Why? Oh,
don't know.
misinformation?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
So, yep. So we're all vaccinated at this table. So
Really?
You're vaccinated?
yeah, this
Completely?
morning. Yeah,
Oh,
I have a
you look
headache coming
okay.
on.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And now I don't have to pay with credit cards anymore. I
Yeah,
just
now the
kinda
government
wave my
knows
arm.
where you are at all time.
Exactly. So it's vaccinations are going up around the country.
Actually, they're going down.
Well, they're That's not true. There's more people getting vaccinated. You can't go down.
Okay, there's more people. The rate of
What is it?
vaccination is going down.
50%
Sorry.
of Americans are now?
I heard 51 or something percent of
I
adults.
think it's
Yeah.
52.6.
I heard 4
58.3.
billion Americans have gotten vaccinated. With that being
Oh,
said,
gosh.
we're just having a little fun, just poking a little fun at each other.
How's the new one?
Oh, my baby?
Yeah.
Oh, she's great. She's really
Andrea's
great.
baby, technically.
Andrea's baby. That's what I tell her.
Where's
This is your baby.
Right?
So I'm
Mama's
taking care of
baby,
the other
daddy's
kids.
baby.
Yep. But it's the milkman's. I'm just kidding.
Who has a milkman? Nobody has a milkman.
You don't.
No.
You do live in Carroll, so maybe.
Yeah, we don't have a milkman.
You don't?
No, not in Baltimore. We don't have a milkman.
Anyway, yeah, baby's doing great. Family of 5, little adjusting, but really kind of an easy baby. And it's the other 2 kids that are adjusting. You know,
Wow.
I keep telling people it's like the WWE; they're just beating the crap out of each other. It's like they need some more attention, or
Yeah.
you know. So you kind of turn your head and you look back, and one of them's flying off the couch, clotheslining the other
Oh
one.
my.
So it's been good. Lots of diapers, lots of stuff like that. So baby's good. How's your last few weeks?
Great.
That's great.
Wonderful.
You had a couple weeks that were hard,
Yes.
did.
right?
1 week.
1 week that was
I had
really
1 week
tough.
that was hard.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Going to a tropical island for a conference. It was
Mhm.
awful.
Nice.
It was
Yeah.
terrible.
Punta Cana.
Yeah. Punta
Okay.
Cana.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Or Hawaii. One of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aloha.
It was great. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We had to get COVID tests and all that good stuff, but it was worth it. So,
Very
never
cool.
been before, but it was an incredible opportunity to go.
I thought you told me that next time you were doing that, you were going to take me.
Yes, that's what I
You've
said.
apparently been telling a lot of people that.
I tell everybody that.
Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
y'all are going.
Yes, it's good to be back with you guys. We are approaching, hopefully, even as this podcast comes out, dependent on when we put it out into the ether. There's even some
Rumors.
circulating that COVID orders in our state of Ohio are going to be lifted here soon.
Yes.
Completely.
Potentially 5:30 today.
Potentially 5:30 today.
I think it's an announcement from what I got from another rumor source,
Hmm.
but not until Memorial
But
Day.
whatever state you live in, you could already not be wearing masks. Social distancing could already, be reversed as a guideline. Who knows where you're watching?
Or you could be in
Oregon.
LA and never eat again outside.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Whatever your status is, there's implications to these different restrictions and guidelines, and all of our lives have changed. We've talked about it multiple times on the podcast. For better or for worse, everything looks different. But the question we want to ask today is what's going to continue to look different? Is that what's the new normal going to be once everything returns back to quote unquote normal? So why don't we kick off the conversation? What's the primary thing you're thinking about? Is there anything that you find could be interesting as we move forward?
As it changes?
Sure.
Well, I think in regards to our context, which is church, that's kind of what's primarily on my mind, is just thinking about removing those restrictions. How many more people are going to feel comfortable about being able to not have to wear a mask and getting back into a gathering like this. So I'm excited about that potential. Very excited about the potential of, no one likes wearing a mask. I don't think. I don't know. Some might in the winter. It's kind of nice. It was a warm blanket sometimes when it's really cold outside. I don't know. We might come back to wearing masks in the wintertime again. Who knows? It might become a fashion trend / it also, we had almost a non-existent flu season. It's the lowest it's been since they've been tracking it. So some people say coincidence because masks don't work. I know. But it could just be that wearing masks and social distancing actually did reduce the amount of infection transmission for RSV, for flu, for all kinds of things. I probably had the healthiest year that I can remember of like not getting sick. I had one, like 2 days, 3 days that I had some kind of like head cold thing. It wasn't COVID. I had to get a test, I think, somewhere after that. I can't remember, and it didn't say I had them. I got antibody tests, and it didn't say I have it. And I was relatively healthy, so that was great. Doesn't mean I want to wear a mask all the time, but I wonder if any of those trends would pick back up or not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's interesting the way that we treat like playing through sickness. Working through sickness is different.
Yeah.
Because you used to. It's kind of so American that if you're sick, you come into work unless you're dying. You know, and that was probably one of the hardest. I got COVID. I'm the only one at this table. You didn't have it, right?
Never had an official test.
Yes.
Yes.
You thought you had it a couple times, though. Yeah. But, and it's like, man, I don't, that sucks to stay at home from work for 2 weeks. Are you kidding me? And then Andrea, my wife, had COVID right around Christmas time, so we couldn't do any Christmas things with family. And she couldn't go to work and things like that. And it's just, that's fascinating. So I wonder if that will stay the same. If you're sick, stay home.
Forced to stay home.
Or work remote. Or
I think the work remote thing's going to – I think there are a lot of companies that have embraced the ability for people to remote work and not maybe even not pay for spaces, not pay for facilities. And I don't know. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think – well, there's a lot of companies that have announced that officially that they're never going back, or at least in the foreseeable future, to the way things were as far as working on site. And
do you think that's going to be a good thing, though?
I don't.
I
think – well, it's interesting. I actually was listening to a podcast the other day where, somebody that used to travel and speak all the time, which I've not heard this from most people that were used to speaking. Most of them were like chomping at the bit to get back to it. But I heard from, one speaker that's in our context that said, man, it just hit me. Like, I'm going through all of this travel. I'm going through airports. I'm missing time with my family to be on a screen for the most part, for even the people that are there in a stadium, and for other people that are watching through another screen. And he said, I'm just rethinking for the rest of my life, will I keep doing that? Yeah. Instead of I'm communicating and I'm connecting through meetings and conferences now. Why? And so I think it seems most people are eager to get back to the interactive face-to-face, but I think some of that will change forever. I think
I heard a leadership guru, Dr. Sam Chan. I was on a Zoom call with him, and he talked about how he used to travel pre-COVID. I think he said something like he would do over 100 or 170 flights a year that he would travel, and I can't remember how many days. And he said, like, over the last year, or maybe, I don't know, he started to make this change, but it was like 4 times. And he has kind of adopted that same, this was a guy who travels a lot and speaks at different events, and he basically said, I think I can do most of this from home. Yeah. That I can communicate some of the stuff I need to communicate from home. And so that, I think that's the outliers. Majority of it, though, is people going to work and working side by side with other people in teams. Yeah. I feel like that, if you're in that kind of world, I feel like you're at a massive disadvantage to be working from home.
Yeah. I also wonder how much it expedites where people already were. Like, I wonder if there are some people that already by their personality type didn't love traveling as much.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, this showed me that I can do without it. The person I was referring to was Francis Chan that was talking about it on Carrie Newhoff. But then you have like your, Erwin McManus, a communicator we listen to, he's like, oh my gosh, I finally am able to get back out. I know me, as much as I love to travel, I'm looking forward to traveling more.
Yeah.
Like I think
a lot of in almost two separate conversations. One of like travel, and I think that people have had different experiences with that. Like I was able to travel through COVID. Like none of the places we went were shut down. We just happened to be at the right time, going to the beach, doing this, doing that. But some people, a lot of, if your work involves travel, there's people in my family who travel all the time to go visit different branches of a bank, and obviously shut down. And just interesting. As far as working from home, I think that you see this really weird split kind of in society of there's organizations who are like, this is a reality that's going to be here for a while, but is it the best reality? Right? Is it the ideal? I was watching the Today Show, and they went through and like Google spending $100 million trying to figure out how to create hybrid work environments. And so like if you wanted to stay home and you wanted to come into work, how can your experiences interpersonally be the same? So like you would have a TV designated to you rolling around the office, and you'd be at eye level with everybody, and you'd have, you could be able to hear everybody in the room well, meeting spaces, modular compartments. It was interesting. Do you guys think that
virtual boardrooms where you can almost see everybody, hear everybody, and I bet you that's on the forefront.
Phones in the middle of the room,
Yeah. My sister's in finance in Denver, and they're still remote, and their boss said, we're going to stay this way. And they've already sold their offices.
Wow. I think it's interesting. It could, I think we won't see the cost of that interpersonally for another couple of years. But I thought that working from home was the most miserable thing.
I would agree.
But I also don't have a long commute.
Yeah.
It's not hard to get into our workspace. But I would imagine for people that have to drive 20 minutes to an hour to and from work every day, park in a garage, walk up to an office, can't leave their cubicle. That's got to be a really freeing thing.
That's true.
Or personality type. Again, Jesse. He love. He's like, one of the people that works on our staff. He's like, get to be with my kid, and my wife, and he's an introvert by nature. And he's like, and I'm not distracted, and I get to get my work done. And he's like, for him, he's like, man, this was kind of. I miss everybody, but it's kind of like a dream.
Yeah. I think that's probably one aspect. Work. What about social life?
Yeah.
I think social life. I mean, think about everything that was shut down. I think a lot of people are going to be excited to get back to sporting events, excited to get back to concerts, excited to get back to fairs. Thinking like the High State Fair. I wonder if they're doing it this year. I don't know. The High State Fair is big here.
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty big here. It's not like a small thing. They have a lot of people. So I don't even know if they're having it this year. But I think I personally feel like I want to get back into some of those kind of environments and do some of those things. But I wonder how many people will have residual hangover from from that year to where there's going to be a reservation for doing that. I don't know. Maybe
I always hear that. I'm maybe the one person that for whatever reason does not think that will be it. I don't know why I think that. I just think the people that are super scared will get vaccinated. And I think that yes, there will be residual, but we already see, you brought up a really interesting thing, the whole social contract thing the other day about, what's kind of acceptable in this unspoken realm of what's happening. And we already see that there is this reaction back to missing physical touch, missing the energy of being in a room with other human beings. And I think I actually think the power of how we're designed as human beings is going to override what has been kind of pre-programmed or what's been programmed into us for a year.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. You wonder if there's people that are going to be scared forever. But then you look at all these southern states who are pretty much back to normal, and life is just normal.
Yes.
There.
If anything, even more than before.
Right. And the only example I have in my life that I remember last year when I'm a huge baseball guy, and when the baseball season was postponed, it was like the first sport that could come back and it would be somewhat normal. like the MLB with no fans, but they could do it, and then they got into this huge fight with the players union about the health protocols. Anyway, they didn't start for months and months, and I'm thinking, what other time in my life or our life is this going to be the case? Like, we're at home, and everything that we would use to distract ourselves or engage in socially or just for recreation, it's like even that's shut down.
Yeah.
So I think there's a sense of appreciation for what used to be normal that will not be normal anymore.
Right.
I probably liken it to how, anytime, like especially our country would go through these really huge crises, things just change.
Right.
Yeah.
Like after the Depression, the way that when the Depression happened, you didn't just pay for everything, right? But there was almost like a barter system.
Right.
Hey, you can teach my kids how to play piano, so I'll do your wash if you teach my kids how to play piano.
Right.
Like that was and now we just use currency, but because of the Great Depression, that changed things.
Right.
And I think that this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to really cherish when you can go to high school football games, when you can go to baseball games. I watch the baseball every single night now because I'm, I'm like, this is just awesome.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this for sure is a seismic shift. This is a seismic shift moment, year and a half, that is going to change things psychologically for generations to come. I think it's going to change some fundamental ways we do society. I guess the one thing that I don't think will fundamentally shift is the human nature side of us that will want to engage and be around other humans. I think you will have your outliers of people that just maybe just decide to live in fear for the rest of their lives. But I think by and large, I think we're going to be shocked in 6 months.
Would you say that the perception of our needs has changed significantly? Almost, and I say it like this, before the pandemic, it was kind of annoying to interact with people. The way that everything was going with text messaging, and like just every time I have to go somewhere to do something with people in their flesh, it's like, and then you can almost feel everybody pulling back instinctually, and then pandemic happens. It's a forced, distancing, forced removal, forced quarantine, and now it's like, I never knew how much I needed that.
Yes, I think. Fortunately, but unfortunately, there will be a wave of that, which is the good part. And then the unfortunate part is I just feel like the human marker of our nature is amnesia and taking things for granted. So I think there'll be a wave of that.
Yeah.
And then unless we're really – but who knows? I think more than ever there will be a push back for – authentic community and being around other human beings and like just being I want to be in a full movie theater again. I've always been a movie theater person anyways, and that's one of the things that I hope is not our soon to be next blockbuster. I really don't want it to be, but part of me thinks it won't be, just because there's always been a craving for live performance going back thousands of years. And so I'm looking forward to being in a room packed shoulder to shoulder. And
really, you don't want the seat in between you and the group next to you?
No.
Now
That's movie theater seating.
That gives me anxiety.
What?
I like the empty movie theaters. I'm like, man, we're the only ones in here. We get the best seats.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're one of the few in that category.
I love when the air gets hot in the
love
room.
when it's
I can't breathe.
And people around me are
It's
making
like,
so much noise.
Well, that's part of. No, I can for sure. I've seen my share of empty theater movies, but there is a magic when there's an energy in the room.
I agree.
And everybody's yelling at the same time, laughing at the same time.
No, but that might be dead, man. I don't think it's coming back.
Really?
Movies are gone.
You don't think so? What about concerts?
I think the movie industry
Concerts
is
will be
changing.
there.
I think it is. I think you got Netflix and these other Amazon Prime, all these, they're creating their own movies.
You can buy a 75-inch flat screen TV,
That's not big enough.
stream something to it in 4K, spend $150 on a sound system, and sit on your couch, and boom.
And
that's not quite.
And the whole time miss the experience.
$150 sound system. That's not quite the same. A sound bar is not quite the same as.
Or you can go to the movies twice and spend the same amount of money.
Yes, you could. That is
like,
the problem.
That popcorn's how much?
Good point.
That is true. The
popcorn's
hot dog's
$40.
$9.
It's too
Popcorn's
expensive.
$40.
Which I threw away the bunch. So I'm like, I spent $9 on a beef frank.
It's like I could either buy a thing of OSB or a popcorn.
Yeah, I think one of the
OSB
interesting.
is wood. by the way.
That's
Trust
good.
me, I know. It's kind of like a cousin of a
Plastic.
USB, but in the Wood family.
Yeah, it's
you connect it to a dongle, and then it intertracts.
I think one of the interesting
Bet you didn't know
dynamics that I'm watching is where do we prefer online versus in person?
Yeah.
Because I do think that's going to be an interesting one to navigate, especially in ministry. I think we're trying to figure that out as well, because we found great value when we were kind of forced and pushed into really creating a good online experience for people. We found we were able to connect with people. We heard amazing stories of people's lives that were impacted by the things that we were able to share. And so we have found great value in that. And we're still working hard to try to connect people and actually get in their lives, even remotely. And so I do think that that's not going away.
Yeah.
It's not. But then I think, on the other hand, you get people who experience, like you said, the forced separation, that are saying, no, give me in person. And so I'm thinking, and I don't have any answers, and I think I think we were looking at this slow arc of a trajectory before this that was moving toward more online, more digital. I wonder if that's going to shift. I mean, I know of a church in America that eliminated so many of the things they're doing and put millions of dollars into all online stuff.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm just saying, I know.
I wonder why.
As the online pastor.
Yes, I bet you do. I know.
That's a smart guy.
But what I wonder is that was happening before COVID. Okay, and those people typically are in the category of online's going to replace in person, which I don't think it will. But I feel like that this was such a jolt that I wonder what direction it goes after this. Yeah. I really do.
I think one of the seismic shifts is that's never going to be an either or question again. It's just always going to be a both and. I think the need for people to be able to access a community wherever they're at in the world in an actual meaningful way, and not just a crappy camera shot, but to actually have an online community. I think that's one of the permanent shifts that will never go away. Yeah. But at the same time, I do think there is simultaneously an increased desire for human interaction where possible and actual transcendent moments in the room. Because you just hear people say that, people that are able to step back into the room for those moments, well, that corporate sense of.
I have a personal example of this. My daughter, who graduated from college with her bachelor's in nursing just a couple weeks ago, and she did not go to graduation at the branch where she was. They officially did not have like a real graduation. They had like they were going to do this thing where you could bring one person, and she was like, well, I can't, who am I supposed to pick? They couldn't do the pinning. They couldn't do, you know what I mean? All of that good stuff. And so she opted to not go to it. Then they streamed it online. She watched it online, and she literally, like, even watched it online, said, I'm sad that I missed it. Like, not being there, not having one. I don't know if she would be sad that she missed that particular version of it. So I just wonder, will universities, will others go, hey, we're just going to do these kind of things? And I wonder, like, I guess that's the example of.
Speaking of universities, not to change the subject, but speaking of universities, another shift is going to be, I believe, a really deep decrease of out-of-state transfers of students. They talked about there's this whole migration of students back to their hometowns. You know, people that were either, especially from places like LA or New York, they're going back to their hometowns and saying, not only do we want to be in a place that they feel like is more free, but they're like, with everything that happened, now like this whole thought of the brevity of life and being near parents and family, and there's this whole group of college students saying, no, we're going back home to in-state and we're not leaving.
Back to the topic you switched us off of.
Yes.
I do want to get there, though, because I think that's fascinating. I just had a thought on the especially church, and you know, you have a lot of businesses, organizations, and lump church in with that, who I think the pandemic forced us to do what we have been meaning to do for a long time. You know, imagine being a restaurant or a pizza place, and someone can really only call your shop and come in, and it just doesn't work like that anymore. Like, if you don't have a e-commerce platform, or if you don't have a
Yeah.
digital experience, that's how people
Right.
choose where they spend their time, their money, and in their life. And so, like, what was innovation for that season is gonna meet a need. Right now, I think we're asking the question, what need does it meet?
Yeah.
So, to like, maybe it's not going to be as wide ranging. People go to church online. Like, I don't think that'll be personally, my opinion is that's not going to be
The new norm.
Yeah, maybe, I think that there's some people that will, some people that found places like that over the quarantine. I think that's a valid thing. We visited somebody in Nebraska one time, one of Andrea's military friends, and out there it's like, man, what a gift an online church would be, because you're an hour and a half away from any civilization. You live on a farm or something. There's context like that in America. People just physically are too far.
They don't have options.
Yeah, it's like there's the one, Lutheran church that's down the road. They may be a great church, but maybe there's a need we can meet digitally for somebody like that. You can be in a small group. You can be in all sorts of things. So I think that there's needs like that need met. But for us, like, we had conversations even before you ever try a church, you're probably going to watch the experience online.
Yeah.
And so for us, it served a need in the quarantine where that's all we had, but it's going to continue to meet a lot of needs for us, even if it's just showing people who we are, what we do.
Well, I think online is your new front door in church ministry, right? People are going to go and they're going to experience it, and they want to say, do I fit into a place like that? Do I see people like me?
Yeah.
And I think people are going to do that before they ever step through the door. I think you're right. People do that even with businesses. They're going to do it more. I mean, the first thought was to go to, maybe you just get up in the car and drive someplace. Now you're like, no, I don't even know if they're open.
Right.
Just because you didn't know what was open, what wasn't open last year. So now you're looking everything up. And so I think it'll settle out and become the new normal. What you're saying is the innovation has become the new normal.
Yeah.
Well, what was a luxury in a past season is a necessity in this season.
Yeah.
That's why, to be honest, a lot of churches died because this was not a season where you had an option to adapt.
Yeah. For anybody. And that was true with restaurants. That was true with any sort of businesses. I was listening to a business podcast. They said that e-commerce has accelerated 10 years in 3 months.
Wow.
And
everybody got onto it.
Everybody,
Should we talk about Bitcoin?
right, connecting, upgrading their networks and turning to fiber, and how do you facilitate all this video stuff going on, and there's been and so I think that's going to be essentially a good thing, but I think that it's not going to meet the same need, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for example, going back to working from home, I think that meets the need of the modern worker of, I need flexibility, right? I have kind of 3 fringe things I need to do at home. I don't want to take a whole day off. I can do it kind of around my work and still get my work done.
Right.
Well, work from home, once a week. Or a company who wants to go back hybrid, like one of you guys was mentioning. Like, I think that's a modern day, that meets a need for the modern worker, in my opinion. So maybe the implementation was for one need, but it'll meet a different need.
No, it's great. It's kind of like, for some reason, when you say that, my mind goes back to, everybody thought he was crazy when he first put it out, but Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. So, if you're a freelancer, or you're trying to create a certain type of lifestyle, or like you said, there's just certain, contractual work or whatever, and you're not in the sphere of a team, and your primary economy that you're looking to cash in on is flexibility and freedom, then you're right, it makes sense. It's all about what's the premium. And so in any kind of like organizational culture, like church culture, where the intangibles of the organization are premium, like your values and your culture and your teamwork and your unity, that's when it becomes counterproductive.
It can, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to go back to universities too, because I have a younger brother, this has been his junior and senior year at Ohio University locally, all virtual. And, tuition is the same. Tuition hasn't gone down. But this, like...
but Joe Biden's paying it off.
Right. I
Hasn't
wish.
said that yet.
I wish, not yet. But let's even zoom out a little bit. Even the whole idea of the playing ground has been leveled in so many ways in a lot of different spheres. So I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and there was a guy on there who started a YouTube news show, and it's kind of comedy, but kind of was a real news thing, and it has just blown up. And he asked him why. Why do you think you found so much success during quarantine? He's like, well, because I can do YouTube better than network news can do YouTube. And so Jimmy Fallon, for the Tonight Show, one of the most popular cable programs that there is, he's at his house on his iPhone.
It was awful. I couldn't watch.
I actually did not think it was
terrible.
that
It was endearing.
It
But
was
my point
endearing.
is,
It's funny.
is that that Jimmy Fallon looks like our meetings on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
So no longer does it take millions and millions of dollars
Yeah.
to put on what's considered. You don't have to compete with that. Instead, it's like,
Right.
no, it's pure talent. The playing field. You don't have to live in New York City.
It's authenticity over polish, and it's whatever engages.
Like that
Yeah.
John Krasinski thing.
Yes.
Like he ended up
The
what
SGN,
getting,
some good news.
or what was it called?
Some good news.
Some good news. Is that what it is? But I think CBS ended up
Yeah, picking it up.
picking it up, and
Yeah.
so now it's
That's
an
Jim from The
actual-
Office.
I
I
know
know
it
you
is.
haven't watched The Office.
I know it is.
Okay.
How about this? Can I get the camera shot on me? You see what
That
I'm
wasn't
saying?
bad. It
That was
wasn't
good.
bad.
Anyway, but
That was a Jim. Look.
that was a Jim look. Do you, okay. Some things don't
Never
change.
seen the show before.
Some things don't change. But I think it's interesting to go. You know what? We all the playing grounds. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
From
anything.
anywhere.
Anything.
But I say that, and I talk about universities in that way because now it's like I could learn this on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's a very real thing. Is that you can get your education and pay, $30,000 a year from it, or you could just Google it.
Or go to Duolingo.
Yep. What is that?
Duolingo?
What?
Duolingo.
Duolingo?
It's where you learn languages.
Languages?
You
Kinda
can.
like
It's
Rosetta
an app
Stone?
that literally. Yeah, it's like the modern day Rosetta Stone, where you can literally just become fluent in whatever language in the
Well,
world.
why didn't you just say
Why
that?
do we need that when we can
thought
just
you guys
hold?
knew what that
Why would
was.
we need that? We can just hold translation devices right in front of us,
It's a good point.
and we can just talk into them, and it just tells them, and they can talk back. Why do we?
Well, yeah, because
just
there's
asking.
a currency
What?
to actually know a language.
Do you
what's it
think
worth?
that higher education will change?
Wow. I do think that if more people move, I guess the real question is going to be whether or not the same thing you see in businesses where they're saying we don't need all this brick and mortar. You look at universities and they're constantly growing and expanding. They're constantly getting more space. They're building new halls. They're building new dorms. They're building all that. If that changes, how does that affect the rest of university life? In other words, if more and more people go online, will they continue to try to keep charging the same amount? Because I do know what you're talking about. That it's crazy. My daughter,
Well,
my
master
daughter
classes
has to
have
pay-
multiplied over.
yeah, and my daughter's she had to pay for all of these graduation fees, but they were not originally they were not going to have graduation, but they were still going to make you pay graduation fees if you wanted a piece of paper.
Because that makes sense.
But it just kind of goes back to like making you wonder, what is it going to force their hand to do?
Yeah.
That's what would be interesting. I do think that there's always going to be a subset of kids who graduate who say, I want to leave house and I want to go someplace. I don't think that's ever going to go away. I just wonder if that downscale, if you get more online, do they begin to change and go, wait a minute, then we don't need all this brick and mortar, or they're going to be sitting around with a bunch of empty
I
buildings.
think just like the workspace, it'll be hybrid. I think some people will still want the prestige. If you're going to be the top lawyer, you're going to go to Harvard. Or there's going to be students that are going to be like, I want the college experience. Or maybe like the emphasis of some of the higher education will change. But I do think, again, master classes, you want to become a chef, there's some people that's like, well, I can just go watch, I can sign up and pay whatever amount of money for Chef Ramsay's master class and go that route. And
I think it makes excuse me, let me try that again. The questions we were asking before we knew what a pandemic was, I think the pandemic maybe unintentionally answered. So the workforce is asking, or people are starting to ask the question about higher education before, is this degree worth it?
Yeah.
And some, and the business world's kind of saying at the same time, we're not even going to talk to you unless you have one.
That needs to change.
But
I hope it does.
My impression is it will change. My prediction, because of
Come on,
all of
Nostradamus.
my
Wisdom.
futurist wisdom, is that you're going to see a eruption of entrepreneurism.
What was that word again?
Entrepreneurialism.
I thought we already seen.
You love that word.
Entrepreneurialism. I think you're going to see an explosion of that over the next, I don't know, how many months, years to come.
More
You know.
people creating their own things.
Sure.
Well, I
rather
just
than
think it's
just
a,
falling in line.
I
and
think
going to
people either
school.
right now are like in complete dread, or they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have a blank slate to create the future
Yeah.
and brand new tools to use."
New problems, new solutions.
Yeah.
And new problems. Some people would never have quit the job that they got laid off from.
Yeah.
But okay, your life's now. What are you gonna do?
Now you-
Right.
Now you're 45. Never thought you never ever thought that you'd leave this workplace. You were in your ways. You were in your routine, and now new problems. Maybe you have a solution for it. Never had more tools in order to, like you said, master classes or YouTubes or. And some people, their entire life is changed off of cryptocurrency.
Okay,
So they-
this I don't even know.
Amen.
I don't even know if this is on subject. And I'm curious if you and your dad have talked about this
Yeah.
in the automobile industry, because you keep hearing these things about the issue of joblessness right now, and what are we going to do about it? But I got a buddy in South Carolina, and is pretty high up in the automobile industry, and he said that's not the issue.
it's the opposite.
He said, we have jobs of $50,000, $60,000 that we cannot find people to. And he said, and we're talking corporation to other companies outside of the vehicle industry.
Yep.
He said, and they're facing the same problem. There are people that literally
Yeah.
are getting paid to stay at home, and this is just unfathomable
Yeah.
to me, and don't want to change that.
yeah.
Why is it unfathomable to you?
Because
That's what
who
we-
wants to not
Are
have
you
a
making-
purpose in life?
He's making a political.
That's what
statement.
I was asking.
We're keeping
You
the
do-
politics out of
okay.
this.
What's
Never mind. That's why. Sorry.
What's unfathomable to me is to literally be okay to live a
we
life
go.
without
Yeah.
purpose.
Well,
Wow.
okay, let's calm it down here.
What?
I will not. Why? Why would you want to stay home and do nothing?
I think I'm shocked by.
Wait, I'm not talking about
Wow.
people that can't find a job. I'm not talking about people on welfare. I'm talking about if you have the ability to go out and get a great career, but you'd prefer not to. That's what I'm saying is unfathomable.
Yeah. Well,
So you are not for socialism.
I'm not for socialism.
Okay,
but that's
so I
maybe
was
the
just-
argument I'm making.
Oh, sorry,
the
yeah.
argument I'm making is on an individual human level. If you could have the ability to go out and have a meaningful job,
I agree. I'm
why
not
would you not
disagreeing
want
with
to?
you? I don't know, but what we've seen is the extension of unemployment without having any need to go look for jobs, which, by the way, is changing, I believe, next week at the time of
Yeah.
this recording. As of next week, at the time of this recording, you have to start officially looking for a job. So originally, before COVID hit, if you get unemployment, you had to turn in information and things that you actually are applying for jobs, going to interviews, showing you're actively trying to get a job. As soon as COVID happened, and they said everything got shut down, the government went in and made changes and said you don't have to actively look for a job. Then we just kept extending unemployment over and over and over and over and over again. Meanwhile, places are opening up and nobody can find anybody to work. And why can't they? And originally, what's interesting about that scenario you mentioned is where I have seen this hit the most is obviously the kind of jobs that are either minimum wage or above minimum wage, but are working in food service and other things where people are like, I'm making just as much money or more to sit at home and do nothing than to go to that job that I didn't really like. I'm just going to do that. And so
I don't know.
that's been happening.
I think it's
going to change starting next week a
it'll
little
be
bit. But
interesting to see what happens. But you talk about a world where we have to start counting the cost of or anticipating shortages. So
that
In the Southeast,
well, hold on.
Yeah.
I think that I want to get there, but there's a shortage of workers right now. Is what you're talking about, and like we've talked about it. Me and my dad. It's like everybody's hiring. Everybody's looking for good people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, for the jobs that people, for the high-paying jobs, it's very competitive right
Yeah.
now. Very competitive because there's a lot of people to choose from, and a lot of people that are applying.
there's a sign at the local Buffalo Wild Wings where we're there. There's a sign that says they have standing open interviews one day every week. It has the time and everything. You just show up.
Oh,
Don't even apply. Just walk in the door, say you're looking for a job.
It's
We
hard
have a
pressed to
standing
walk
interviews.
into
That's
anywhere.
interesting.
It's hard to walk walk in any establishment
And not see a help wanted sign.
and there's a help wanted
That's why you
now
can't
hiring
hire
bonus.
at the Chipotle at the counter right now.
No, I know. You can't even get food at Chipotle. You have to order online. 'Cause they don't have
That's
enough
when the
people.
world needs help.
I think that
They need a new
I think
employee.
what's
That's
interesting
slow.
But hold on.
to bring up is the shortages, because I do think that is something that we experienced in the pandemic that I wonder if it's going to change our perspective. So you may have different perspective. My thought is this: we immediately, it's kind of like, what did the Great Depression cause? What are these things? Do people kind of start reeling back a little bit on the way we've been living, which is the overextending ourselves financially and other things, going, well, all it takes is one little thing to happen,
Yeah.
and I'm hosed. Do people start, I'm not going to say prepping, but do people
That's
start
what I'm
kind of
thinking about.
preparing, and do people start thinking about, hey, what if something does happen? Where do I have reserves? Do I
Lumber
have
shortage.
toilet paper shortage?
Toilet paper shortage. Well, what?
Important one.
Let's and I want to let you talk and
construction
pipe in on this.
services.
So the housing market
Oh.
is insane right now because of the lumber shortage. You can't build a house. And there's no inventory
I know people are
of homes.
waiting to get their house done, waiting months because they cannot get things.
Or
The
what was
house
it
is
last
sitting
week?
still.
Somebody at the gym said they were about to put an offer on a house, and all the houses in that neighborhood overnight hopped $10,000.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We put in an offer $20,000 over and that was weeks ago. Now you can put in a offer
Wait, you're moving
$30,000.
again?
No, that was
Oh
my
my-
last time I moved.
Okay, I was going to say,
But-
sorry.
Yeah, but the shortage of homes, the shortage of
Yeah.
lumber.
Yeah.
Lumber's up 5x from what it was at
Oh,
least.
it's so expensive.
That lumber OSB. That was where I made the joke
It's,
earlier.
yeah, it's a version of the woodenary version of USB.
Nope. But we're just starting to see gas shortages.
Oh, southeast.
Saw in Charlotte. I saw in Charlotte today. Somebody posted lives there. $9.99 per gallon of.
Are you serious?
Unleaded. Yeah.
So that's a little
One
bit
out
of
of every
anticipation, right?
But
Someone
you
freaking
know what
out.
that is? A lot of that is because of the hoarding. So I'm getting pictures last night from friends in Atlanta of pictures from Bartow County in Georgia of people literally hoarding 9-10 gallon things in the back of their car.
Yeah, but they're
for
hoarding
gas.
because they anticipate it.
So I think you have some
shortage.
people that are being wise for the first time, and then I think you have another instance where preppers are becoming worse.
Right. Or try wiping your
Or
butt
better.
without toilet paper.
yeah, you might start.
You might want to start prepping.
Look, I got a 46.
Try driving
ply.
places without.
I got a 46 roll
Gas.
a weekend. I'm still on it.
You bought a 46 pack.
Yes, on Amazon.
and you still have it.
Can you imagine how long toilet paper would last?
No.
If I was the only person that uses it in your house.
Well, I think the gas price. It'd be interesting to see if the gas price
This
is.
is rhetorical.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
rhetorical.
that's obviously unrelated to the pandemic,
Right.
But it would be
Yeah, that was a
interesting. I
cyber
think
attack.
it does fit within the same concept of we have experienced
Cyber attack is
shortages.
like in the IT world. Where
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see. I think that was the whole point of this conversation is what's going to carry over, what's not going to carry over. What are we going to be like? I'm so glad. I hope I never have to do that again.
Can
I
I
wonder
ask-
if people wear masks.
Can I ask
Winter
something?
season.
Not to take it away from the super practical, but I think because we've talked about so many things and you're mentioning the kind of people that are looking forward to the future. I think it'd be just interesting. What do you think are the attributes that are going to be really important? Because I almost think that there's people that you've needed endurance to make it through the pandemic. But on the opposite side, I feel like adaptability. I remember I may have mentioned this before when I first came here and I was serving in one of our locations in Lancaster. One of the first books we went through as a team was this business book. I really don't remember, honestly, a whole lot between the covers except for the title. I'll never be able to forget. And it was by this business guru, Marshall Goldsmith. And the title was "What Got You Here Won't Get You There." Mm-hmm. And just that whole thought of, okay, so what are the attributes that are going to be beneficial for people if they're going to create a new future going in post-pandemic?
So you're saying that maybe adaptability maybe is the most important trait.
I think adaptability is one of them. I'm curious, what do you guys think?
What do you think? Mine's the best, so I'm going to wait
Well,
until after
then why
you.
don't you go first? Because I would hate to steal it.
Yeah, I think that the way the world has changed, I think these people will succeed. People who can think macro and live micro. And I mean it in this way. I mean, you can succeed if you think macro in terms of anything is possible in today's day and age. You think about a time where whether you are in first grade or 95 years old and you couldn't go to your doctor's appointment anymore, everybody is literate in Zoom or video conferencing now. Mm-hmm. That changes everything. Mm-hmm. When the Today Show's Zoom conferencing and the kindergarten down the street is Zoom conferencing, that makes a lot of things possible. Mm-hmm. I think that everybody becoming literate in that, the e-commerce doing what it's doing, I think how it all intertwines with social media. I think that you will thrive in life in this season in society if you have the ability to think really big.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how do you live really small? Because what translates to the macro is quality in the micro.
Yeah.
So everybody has been looking at the quality of their connections with others. Everybody has been looking at their purpose in life. Am I doing what I was put here to do? I think there is I think there's a revival around the corner in the church. And the studies that are going to come out months and months from now is that more people are thinking about spirituality in general and what do I do about my existence than ever before. I think that people are thinking about parenting in new and intentional ways. I think that, I think people are thinking about the present more now than ever. I think, how do you live a really quality life in the micro, in the everyday, and understanding that in order to translate anything to the macro, then your micro has to be
it's like the
really
process.
high quality. Yeah. So
what was that attribute?
Huh?
What was the attribute that you
Think
had?
big, live small.
Think big, live small.
What?
That's
Think
good.
big, live big. Small, micro. The
That's
people
good,
will
though.
understand.
Think in the macro, live in the micro.
I like that.
That was
That's
good.
good. No, that's good. I think that was so good that I don't really have much to add to it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you think about the question was moving forward, what do we think are the attributes?
What are some human
that
attributes that people are really going to need to thrive?
I
in the
think
next
one
season?
that you mentioned, just really, I think a deeper level of real person-to-person connection.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had been as a society moving away from, doing life with people to kind of doing life screen to screen rather than face to face. I think that that's never going to go away, but I do think people got a great little dose of what does life look like when it's only screen to screen, and I think people kind of went, this is not for me, this is not for me. So I do think that that's going to drive a sense of wanting to deepen friendships, to want to do time and with friends and do things like that, family. I wonder, I don't think it will, because I don't think that was enough, but I wonder if there were families over this past year that I know it was hard, because I think when your kids, play in sports and do things and then they can't, I know that's kind of hard as a parent, but I just wonder if they got a picture at all. If some of them will say, there was something about having margin in our family and having time with our family that I felt like before we never had, because it was running from thing to thing to thing to thing, that was a gift that it gave us for a little bit. And saying, well, how do we protect that? Like one of the things that, we've talked about recently, and I thought maybe it'd be something we could talk about sometime, but just the importance of taking a Sabbath, or the importance of kind of taking one day where you say, I'm going to disconnect from the outside world as much, and we're going to have fun. And maybe as a family, we're going to have fun. I just wonder if there are some parents who are going, wow, time goes really fast, and I don't want to lose what that connection and that time together as a family. So I just wonder if some of those more personal things are going to kind of rise to the surface, and see if there becomes a little bit of a pushback against the advancing technology of taking over our lives. I wonder if there will be a little bit. I mean, we've talked about that before, but I don't know. That was an interesting one to me, getting that perspective, because the lockdown, I think some people liked it. I think a lot of people liked it for a while. It's good for a while. It's good in doses. I think after too long, it's like, I need some other interaction.
I would agree with that. I think that everybody had kind of both experiences.
Yeah, it was like initially, this is
There's
great.
things I
don't
loved.
I don't want this to be my only circle.
Yeah.
But I think there was times where it was like, my wife and our daughters, and I remember during the lockdown, it was like every night, it's like, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we were together. So we were like, oh, you want to watch this? Oh, you want to do that? You want to play a game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it literally, all those options were taken off the table.
The
There's
return
one
of
to
the
go to eat,
puzzle.
and
Everybody's doing
we did
puzzles again. I know.
We did puzzles.
I know.
It will
We
never
never
change.
did
Puzzles.
We did some puzzles.
Puzzles
and
are
it was-
mainstream.
And it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And we were together, and it's like I kind of miss elements of that. And I just
You
wonder
could still
if
do a puzzle.
I know we could.
I'll tell you something
We
that will
should.
change forever for me.
don't.
Is I will forever now love walks.
That's good. You say, what'd you say?
Walks.
Walks?
Walk.
Walks?
You like cooking food, or you?
Walks. W-A-L-K-S.
You sound like you
Going
got,
on walks.
you sound like you got peanut butter on the roof.
walks. What do you say, walks? Well, guys, I really love walks now, but I love walking.
Walking.
This is what I said. Walking.
Yeah, not
That's
a
better.
walk, but a walk.
I said walk.
Okay.
Anyways, I love that, and
Yeah.
that's something that I think.
You know what I found out?
I've
I
noticed
don't
even
like
that.
working out at home.
Yeah.
I used to keep equipment. Now I don't ever want to work out at home.
Yep.
I want to work out at a gym every time. Not being able to work out at a gym, forced to make use of my equipment at home. I don't want to work out at home.
You want to get rid of your rower.
Maybe.
I think
In case the next pandemic
we've
happens,
talked a lot
I might
about
need it.
this.
We'll talk about
here's
it
hopefully
later.
a good thing is the things that hopefully we found out were really important for our emotional and mental health in quarantine, or hopefully things that we carry forward after.
How about this? Let's end on this. I agree. I think this is a great conversation, practical, but I want to end kind of big picture and encouraging too, because we've had to put to death a lot of things like in this past season of, the way we did life. Everything's going to be different. Some ways for the better, some ways, maybe not. Who knows? Time will tell. But what's one thing, what's the one thing you're most excited about as we see the shift in society over the next couple
The
years?
most? I don't know about the most. One of the things, seems odd. The thing I'm actually the most looking forward to is not having to have constant debates over really stupid things that have become highly political. It's like I want to, in context, I just wanted to reach our community. I wanted to be able to serve our community and have church. And it just feels like everything's been hijacked through this past year. And so it's like, I don't want to have any more arguments over, do we have to wear a mask? Do we not have to wear a mask? Why do we wear a mask? Who are you getting a vaccine? Why are you not getting a vaccine? What's wrong? Why are you going to try? It's like, I want to go back to where we don't have as many polarizing conversations about all these things. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what it's sad to say. That's what I think I'm most looking forward to post-pandemic.
Yeah. Higher level conversations.
I'd rather talk about other things. I'd rather talk about life. I feel like what it did was, what's odd is that I could sit in community with people that we shared something in common, what we believe, whether it comes to our faith, spirituality, and we could have had so many differences outside of that. What we liked, who we voted for, and then all of a sudden over this past year, all of those things mattered just as much, if not more. And now all of a sudden, this whole, I'm just over this attitude that I can't be in community with you unless you are just like me. I just think that's the worst thing ever. And so I would love to be able to put all that stuff back in the bottle and to be a little bit ignorant. I don't know if that's possible. And I want to be able to, so you're a masker. Oh, you're a this. Oh, you're a that. Can't we just be human? Can't we just enjoy being together? And why? You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of over all that. That's just me. Sorry.
So what are you most excited about?
I think anything.
He's already said movie theaters.
I'm excited.
I'm
about
talking
movies.
about
I think anything connected
sorry,
to
so sorry.
human connection. So whether it's from hugs at church and just no fear of whatever
Kiss
to
on the cheek, both sides.
yes, in Spain. I mean,
All over.
my dad and I are supposed to go to Europe in July, and we're still waiting every day to know, is that going to happen? You know, those things that we weren't able to do last year. Being with my parents. Me and my parents and my sister are going to be together in June for the first time in 2 years.
Wow.
So those things, and then I just think that's one. I don't know if this is one A. That's 1B is taking all the crappy ingredients from the past year and a half and just creating beautiful things from them. I mean, I think all the pain of this past year, it sounds cliche, but really has given us a platform to reach people like never before, to create new things. I know for me, I actually feel more excited to pursue dreams I've had in my heart for a long time and new dreams than I've ever been in my life. Yeah. And so I'm excited. It sounds cliche, but I just think there's limitless options for the kind of futures we can create and the kind of connections with people that we can create.
Yeah.
Can I add one more? So he had B. I feel like it's only fair if I get a B.
Sure.
This one might be a little bit more professional or ministry related outside of that. I felt like during COVID that it was really hard to get vision for the future. I feel like coming out of this, that spark is starting to kind of come alive.
Yeah.
And we've had conversations where it's just like beginning to dream about even things that are like, in 2 years it would be awesome if we could do this, or in 3 years it would be, or 5 years. I don't know when, but this is where.
Would you like to share with our people?
No, I don't have anything particular, but I just saying, like, I felt like all during that it was, you couldn't even see a month ahead. You could, you know what I mean? And so I think just the hopefulness of getting back to some version or rhythm of normalcy gives the fuel to be able, like you said, to create, to kind of think, okay, so we had this major shakeup in life and in church life that we had to, walk through, in ministry, just all of it. And now it settles out. And then you look at what you've got and you go, okay, now what can we do?
Yeah.
And where can we go? Even online, we've had dreams of doing all kinds of other things. I felt like that just sparked something that I don't want to stop. I want to go, like, where does this go? How can we connect with people around the globe and reach people? So I think vision is another one that has, like, it's become like being restored to my soul again.
That's good. I like that. I think.
What about you?
And
we'll
close after this. I think because we're doing 1A and 1B.
There you go.
I am most excited about seeing this next generation of teenagers, kids, young people. I'm really excited to see them enter adulthood. And, obviously there's some negatives that all of us are going to have to work through, and whatever that is, grieving certain things. I didn't get a graduation. I didn't get a whatever, or what, we're all going to have to figure that out. But, what they're going to learn from the way that we have mishandled this. I think that coming up, the next generation is going to bring a brand new perspective on politics and polarization. I think that they are going to be the most innovative generation, entrepreneurial generation. I think that they are I think there's some really special things inside what they've been able to see. I think that the way that they look at, view, and handle social media, even piggybacking off the conversation, awesome conversation, by the way, you guys had with your cousin Matt.
Yeah.
He was just a wealth of knowledge about the topic, and I have nothing but optimism that if there was ever a time where we could course correct how those things are going, I think that next generation is just built for, we say in church all the time, what's been tested can be trusted. And man, that to be a young person in a season like this, you have been tested. And I think that because of that, the fruit that's gonna come from their lives, I think it's gonna be incredible. I think the other thing, my 1B, not as important, but I think gets me excited. I think we're gonna see a return of the arts. So like,
I think, literally.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
been.
But not like concerts. Maybe I'm more talking about the. I think as a culture, we are going to reemphasize how important it is to be engaged in creative things. So, the return of hobbies. How many people learned how to play guitar or took piano lessons online, or I'm going to take an art drawing class, or who knows. But it's something that I think as humans we were created to do. We were created by a creator who was very intentional with his design, and I think that even if you can't articulate maybe what that is, I think that has been coming coming to the surface. We're going to see the reinstitution of the arts in schools and how important it is to play music and stimulate that part of your existence. So I'm really excited for that.
Yep.
We have a positive outlook ahead of us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah.
Pandemic in the rearview mirror, hopefully.
Yeah.
Moving forward with a better future.
Let's go.
Here we go. Thanks, everybody. Send us an email, podcast@thex.church. We would love to answer your questions. Just say hi. Make sure to share and like and share again all these podcasts. But we love you so much, and we're so thankful for our podcast family. We'll see you next week.